be the girl that's in a spiral about guys and like, why'd he text? Like,
how'd that go?
Like, oh my God. But it's like, I found myself doing the, and like, well, what is the, and here's a tip. Like, if you're over analyzing and chronically dysregulated and confused, you already know, queen.
Hi, I'm Katie.
And I'm Diane.
15 years ago, we met in rehab.
And we've been besties ever since.
We've both worked hard at healing our addictions.
And we've gone on to build meaningful lives.
I'm a licensed therapist and a yoga instructor.
And I'm an embodiment coach and Tantra healer.
When we get together, our conversations can get intense.
But they're always lively and full of surprises.
Yes!
And no topic is off limits.
And that's our show.
So today we're going to talk about self-abandonment in dating and relationship life. And yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I was about to joke that I don't know anything about that, but I can't even joke about it.
Yeah,
That's like my life story. Working on. So yeah. I'm out here visiting Katie, and I've got a long-term pattern of giving myself away, over-giving, over-functioning in relationships. Maybe some of you can relate. Really overdoing, being performative to try to earn love, etc. And I ended a relationship where I was really over-functioning in that way for years. And thought I'd moved on and found somebody that could really meet me in relating in relationship. But it seems that what that first 6 weeks-ish, the magic, utopian, has come to a kind of a standstill, and the stability, the consistency isn't there. It's felt like a showing up and feeling really seen and related to, which is why I was open to dating this person and so attracted in the first place. The high, and then feeling dropped and not met, very confused, not consistent, not really responsive to texts, like just that. And I've felt very distracted by that.
Yeah, I'm still listening. I'm just going to add a quote in because you're reminding me of something.
Yeah, and it's triggering the part of me that instead of being turned off by the lack of availability and the inconsistent messaging, it's brought up my own worthiness. Like, okay, if I just try harder, like, hello, people pleaser, like, and self-abandoning despite and not paying attention to my own consistent or ongoing dysregulation in the connection now. And so I've become almost in a hamster wheel of preoccupation.
Yes, that's what I've noticed.
Overanalyzing and frustration with myself, because up here, I know.
It's like, how do we, and that's a great question, is how do we take what we know cerebrally and embody that, and how do we take what we have, the wisdom inside, and then actually live it? Because that's the hard part. And so I think you bring up a great point. It's like, but you're not yet able to do it. And why is that?
Not only do I know, I speak to this.
You speak to this, yes.
Like, no longer self-abandoning, like, it's that outsourcing of love. And it's been really painful because it triggers the part of me that's like,
come back to this.
Please just see me.
Yes.
Please choose me. Please love me. Please want me. Please show up for me in the ways that you sometimes can.
That's the deep trauma we spoke about. I mean, so the story basically with what happened with all this, can I jump in with that?
Yeah, please. Take it away.
Is that Diane, I noticed how preoccupied she was, and was talking about this guy, and that's fine. We talk about all these types of things, but we were sort of trying to, I think, get more into, okay, what's the show going to be? It's always what's the show going to be, and then it's something completely different, which I kind of love.
Yeah.
And I said, can I make an observation? And she said, sure. And I said, I really have been noticing that, like, we have this project together that we love and we wanted to share with you, and that we feel is really important because we don't feel there's enough vulnerability in the world. It's growing, but it's not there yet.
And we're doing a lot of legwork. It requires a lot. These things don't just happen. It takes a lot of work.
Yes. And so we've been sort of toiling and working on it, and she's here to work on this project. And it was like she wasn't really here. And a lot of her, what I would call libido, not just sexual energy, but creative libido energy, was going towards this guy and like thinking about, you know, him and what's he doing. And I can relate to that. I've certainly done that. But I said, I'm really observing that, you know, your energy is going there instead of to yourself. And your energy was going,
in the body, like, it's my heart goes.
Yeah. And it's like the energy that goes to him pulls her away, like for actually maybe moving out here, what she wants to do with her life. And especially as women, I mean, I can speak to women because I'm a woman, but I think that we do tend to give more to the relationship, or we want that. So we really value relationship. Yeah. But when is valuing relationship taking you away from like your purpose in life and you growing what you want to grow? And I think go ahead.
Well, and giving power away. And as soon as Katie said that, because she wasn't just speaking about this dating relationship, which, I've been in a spin cycle of like, oh, are these my patterns? I'm choosing somebody again. I'm chasing somebody that's unavailable. This isn't what I want to be doing, but I want love. Like, and it's all of the stuff. But as soon as she spoke into it, she was like, you know, I noticed this. It's not just in this dating one. It's a pattern I've seen with you. And it's one that I know I've been working on, and I know I'm vulnerable to. And I'm frustrated with myself because I can see it. And so as soon as she said that, like, I had this tidal wave rise of shame, and I just like kind of had a shame crumble.
Yeah. Oh, I've never heard that term.
Yeah, a shame crumble. A shame crumble. And I just started,
Really?
and it was a guttural, somatically embodied cry, because it's not about this guy. It's not about this guy. There'll be other guys. Like, you know, I'm maintaining that bar, and I'll get there with my process, but it's that little girl in me, that part of me that came forward and was like, I just, you know, that part of me that so desperately wants to be seen, chosen, loved, and
seen,
met.
chosen, and loved.
And met and related to and connected. And that sometimes connecting and then pulling it away, having it there and not, is such a mirror of my childhood. And that little part of me that's seeking the healing in that is still creating that in my relationships. And then the shame of this project is so important to me. There's so much I want to do with my life. I don't want to be the girl that's in a spiral about guys and like, why did he text? Like,
how'd that go?
Like, oh my God. But it's like, I found myself doing like, well, what is the, and here's a tip. Like, if you're over analyzing and chronically dysregulated and confused, you already know, queen. Like, I already know.
I love that.
I already know. Put
I
my
know.
crown back on, like, and because you're so right. And the shame or the embarrassment of getting in my own way, when it's like, the love I'm outsourcing, or like, I want love so much, but it's like, but what about the love for myself in my own life?
That was the thing. And that was the point, was that we were talking about this symbiotic sort of mirroring that was happening in her life, that she was talking to me about this guy who is intermittent with his affection, and sometimes can be very warm, and other times he goes off and loses himself, which we all do that sometimes. But
well-meaning, probably.
Yeah, probably. Well, let's assume the best.
Assume the best, yeah.
But
I think
anyway,
well-meaning.
And I was saying, but you're still doing that in your life in some ways. Like, you know, you're with yourself, but then you're maybe self-abandoning here and here, and you're even self-abandoning to this guy. So there's this mirroring that's happening, that if she could, and I'm just like the protective best friend just wanting to help, but like, if she could learn to not abandon herself within the relationship to him, that she's really taking care of herself, I don't know that you would be putting up with this so much, right?
Right.
And so here's where the complex trauma comes in. We have the mirroring, and then we have this part of ourselves that might be very young, and you had said earlier, deep-seated. And I think it's like the choose me, pick me. It's so important that we learn to identify What?
I said pick ourselves.
Pick ourselves, and to identify what part of us is doing the picking, what part of us is doing the choosing. Because sometimes it's the part of us we trust, we're connected to our wisdom, we're connected maybe to our higher self. And other times it's a trauma part. And when you can learn to identify which one is which, that can be so helpful in this process, so you can start to not self-abandon.
Yeah, I once heard a thing, it was like, soulmate or wound mate. I
Oh,
was like,
yeah.
oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, I was reading this thing, and it was saying how when you're pursuing those who are unavailable, you then yourself become unavailable to yourself. Like, I became unavailable for the things in my life that I really want and matter. And, you know, and then that begs the question of, you know, if I weren't pouring so much love and effort and energy and my precious vitality and life force energy into trying to figure this out and get the love that I really need to be, it's my responsibility to first and foremost be giving to myself. If I were pouring that love instead of dispersing it and dispensing it elsewhere into people that aren't available, can't meet me, where I don't feel supported, safe, seen, you know, nurtured, met on a consistent enough basis for me to feel safe, emotionally safe. If I were to instead pour that vitality and life force energy into into the garden of my life, for the things that I want most.
Yes. What would happen?
Yeah. If I showed up for myself in the ways I'm trying to get others to show up for me, how might my life change, or our lives change, your life change, if that energy were poured back into our own inner gardens? That's
right. I love that. And I think the other thing we both talked about wanting to bring in today was to just acknowledge how hard that is. Yeah. That this whole thing is such a process. Like, you know, I was telling her that I'm pretty much a sugar addict, but I was telling her I've been I call it back on the brownies. Like, I was, you know, not having brownies for a while, and then I was eating, and it's fine to have a brownie, but I would like go home and I would order these huge ass brownies from like this bakery, and I would get 2 of them and eat those for dinner. Like, that's not good. You know, sugar is so inflammatory and a whole other thing, but it was like, well, what part of me is that's me self-abandoning when I do that. So if it was a once in a while thing, have a freaking brownie. But the amount I was doing it was really a way of abandoning myself, because I was feeling, usually it's when I'm lonely, I've learned that I go there for comfort, and just recognizing, wait a minute, you know, I was talking about this with my analyst, and she was like, oh, that's so sad. And the way she said it made me realize, we kind of processed it a bit. And she was like, it's sad that you think that's all you can have. Like as if there's gotta be something else than sitting on my couch and eating a bunch of sugar to deal with my loneliness, right? Well, and that will actually feed my soul.
Well, and that touches on a future episode topic of, what am I really hungry for? How can I nourish myself? Yes. Like, in a way that's actually meaningful, fruitful. Yeah. And you know, and that was another piece of the shame, when you were saying how hard it is. In the moment, I was crying because I know better. This is my wheelhouse, my world. I understand this deeply. So why am I still acting it out in my everyday life? Like, and I was in tears because I was like, I'm so frustrated that despite knowing better, I'm not embodying better. Yeah. And like, I still feel so rattled on a core level. I don't want to be hung up on this. I don't want to be on this hamster wheel, but yet I still feel rattled. And so that brings us into, when we're so triggered on a nervous system, somatic, in our body level, and feel so unsafe, even if we know better and read all the articles and everything, it's like, how do we hold on to ourselves when the trigger is so high? How do we hold on? How do we ground? How do we stay with ourselves? And it's that, this was hard too, because we were talking about how do we want to bring this into the show, and my tip really, it's like, and I had to stop and do this for myself, of like, I am safe. And that's new. Yeah. That, even just doing this now and being like,
yeah, and just allowing yourself to do it. I think sometimes we've been so conditioned by society to like, oh, that's stupid, or you're going to look dumb if you take a deep breath, or there's like a self-conscious thing, or there's so many ways that we talk ourselves out of doing the little small things that are not actually little and small. They actually help us. So like coming to your body, taking a deep breath. If you can get outside, go on a walk. They may be simple things, but they're things that if you do them, they will help.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's how being able to ground, take a deep breath into the body, feel the ground underneath your feet, hold on to a piece of ice, maybe pause. One of the big things is that I've been working on is just to pause and observe. Instead of grasp, pause and observe. And to work on really protecting my peace and my energy of like, okay, I'm feeling really activated right now. I'm just going to pause until I feel less activated and feel more clear on what to do in a way that's responsive versus reactive. And to just stay still until that tsunami, I feel things like a tsunami, and to just pause and hold on in that way.
Yeah, that's so important. And so for tips and tools, really, the main thing I wanted to talk about is just knowing what part of yourself is doing the choosing in your relationships. And so that's not an easy thing. There's a great quote, I think it's by Von Franz, but I'm not 100%, where she talks about, and I'm sort of summarizing, taking a lot of liberty, but she talks about there's no point, people say, oh, listen to yourself. And there's no point in listening to yourself if you don't know what part of you is doing the speaking. And so if you are listening to yourself, but it's a traumatized part, that's really not going to be helpful to you. So the practice then in not self-abandoning is to begin to identify and really try to listen and sense into, wait, what part of me is choosing right now? Is this a strong, healthy part of me? Or is this maybe a hurt, wounded, needy, it's okay to have needs, but I don't know if I said that. I'm just going to leave that in, but I don't know.
Yeah, needing, no, that, and also I think that's great though, because then it's, when I'm able to identify, oh, this is, what did I hear? There's a quote that says, if it's hysterical, it's historical. And
I like that.
Yeah. And so if that little like hysterical or like panicky, it's like, ooh.
Let's not choose out of that.
Yeah, that's probably little girl self. And needy, it's like, okay, I'm having needs.
Yeah.
What do I need to tend to in myself? And that can feel really impossible at first.
Yes.
But it's that building, even if it's waiting 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yes.
And with that comes the self-compassion, because we can't hate ourselves into loving ourselves well. We can't hate ourselves into showing up for ourselves consistently. That's not going to work.
No.
So how can I, like, with the love and compassion and presence that I am outsourcing to others, how can I gradually start bringing that into myself with greater consistency, right? And then and just having compassion for how far one has come. Like, I was feeling a lot of shame with Katie, and I was like, this is so embarrassing. We've known each other a long time. I've done this in my relationships where I'm like, why doesn't he like love me very well? And it's like, because I haven't loved me very well.
Yeah.
Might be related. Could be correlated.
And also like, yeah.
And, and it's like, but to my credit,
and you've come a long way.
I've come a long way. Like, this is happening less than 5 months in, not 5 years in.
That's right. And so you're making such a good point. First, also, thank you for saving me around the needy thing. I really appreciate how you stepped in, because I was going into my head thinking like, oh, people are going to think that you can't have needs. And I created a whole story. Did you see the last episode? Anywho.
The stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah. But no.
Hi, inner critic.
I know. Hi, inner critic. Jesus and baby Jesus.
We'll do episodes on parts.
But hi, everyone. So we just wanted to jump on because, as you can see, the episode ended abruptly. What happened was our camera died. And so we did want to come on and at least finish, but we were pretty much finishing up.
Yep, we were on the final sentence or two. So let us know what you think. Bear with us. We are bootstrapping this whole thing from the ground up. So thanks for riding along, and let us know what you think, how you relate in the comments below.